couldn't you at least have the courtesy to lie to me about it?
But you hate when they lie. You know that they're lying.
Or, more appropriately, be ashamed of it.
And there it is. There's the rub.
That's the thing. Like, understand, again, like the people, like the retailers who are just looking for ethical cover, they want someone to tell them that they're doing it too. Know that what you're doing is wrong. Don't pretend what you're doing is right. Don't think what you're doing is right. Understand at a deep, core, emotional level that you have made wrong choices. That's all I'm asking. I think that's fair.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
All right, I'm here. Sorry I'm late. I was working on the notes for this episode for the last minute.
Okay. At least somebody did.
I know, right? I feel like that's a goal of... It's not a goal. I'm lying. There's no goal. But I did. I was working on a few things. See, often a topic will come up that I want to talk about, but I won't remember enough about it. Oh, man. Hold on. Let me write these numbers down. For example, if we were going to talk about, I don't know, this week's Superman and Supergirl comics, I'd want to be able to say issues 33 and 13.
Sure.
I couldn't do that without looking it up.
No, we should be recording at all times, all days.
I mean...
And you can just edit it down to an hour, right? You can do that.
People like what they listen to here. They don't realize how much is just lost to the ether.
How much solid gold is only something that you and I know about.
It's just an actual conversation.
It's true.
We should change it to Conversation of Challengers.
Too late.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean...
We're locked in.
From the beginning, the title... 10 years ago, Contest of Challengers, didn't fit. But we just liked the play of Contest of Champions and Challengers and...
Beatles is a bad name for a music group.
Sure.
But,
well, no.
But once you've got some gold records, it's like, well, we're the Beatles now.
No. Once you spell it to beat, like a musical beat, it's a good name.
It's a bad name.
It's a good name.
It's a bad name.
All right, tell you what. Don't use it.
I won't.
Okay. It's just that we were riffing off of a column we used to do where we would take opposing sides of an issue, even though we would most often agree on the issue.
Sure, devil's advocate.
We would just to have the antagonism.
Sure.
We would take different roles, and we'd often have to be like, well, you be against it this time, kind of thing. So we did it that way, even though that was never what this podcast was meant to be.
Yeah, I never really thought of it too literally. I like the idea, like you said, of just the play on Contest of Champions.
Yeah.
That was fun.
And initially, that's what our logo was. It was the Contest of, from that, and Challengers from Challengers of the Unknown.
Yeah.
And then when they made the new Challengers, I'm like, oh, we're just going to steal that outright. But then I felt so bad about doing that. And also it took me a very long time to find a clean enough copy of the logo that I could manipulate to our needs.
Also, somehow a book that just came out within the last 3 years is more obscure than a Marvel miniseries from the 1980s.
Oh, I was going to say that a comics industry business podcast on the Yak Channel Podcast Network in Chicago. Hey, Dal, you know what I'm a big fan of?
What's that, Patrick?
Form libraries.
I don't know what that is.
Libraries of all sorts of different forms, like Excel spreadsheets or...
Oh, forms like paperwork, like that sort of thing. Okay.
How's that? Is that organic?
I mean, I didn't know what you were doing, so I guess it was?
When they approached us, I thought it was a literal, museum or library you can go to, oh, look at all these invoices from the early days of desktop publishing. This is fascinating.
Said somebody ever?
Me. We were approached by a...
Yeah, so... A few episodes ago, I'm joking about, why would anyone ever advertise on a podcast, let alone this podcast? What a huge waste of money. Cut to...
We got an email from somebody looking to advertise on this podcast about this online reference for forms for invoices and whatnot. And they were offering X amount of money, and they said, I assume this is too little to actually be a mention, but if you could just post a link in your bio, or the episode's bio, and I thought, no, we could do it.
Yeah. Plus, like, it's not too little because A, I don't care, B, I'm not going to take it seriously.
Right.
So I will make a joke about it, and I genuinely don't care.
And then they sent us, like, they kept being more information, and then it was, well, don't have it be a sponsored ad, have it be an organic conversation.
This is it. This is the organic conversation.
And then also make sure that it's in an episode where you're specifically talking about, I don't know, business forms or something.
Like it was like accounting or something.
Yeah.
Like they wanted that to be part of it, which, I mean, I don't know that we've ever really done that. I mean, there's been a number of episodes, but it's not really accounting. It's more just like sales data and things like that.
So this is our way of not doing it, and we're not posting it in the bio.
Oh, we're not?
I mean, well, no. If we were they specifically said we couldn't call it out. It had to be a conversation.
Oh, we just had to be like talking about it. Like,
yeah.
Like in the same way that if we were talking about food, I'd be like, man, I went to Chipotle. It was really good. Like that would be like what they're looking for. But
yeah, organic.
Yeah, Chipotle's organic.
Also, I didn't
go to Chipotle today, by the way.
Yeah.
That was a for instance.
I didn't write down all that information.
Oh.
Like, I couldn't even tell you the name of the place.
I didn't know if there was going to be, like, some sort of drop-in or something. Where
no,
like,
I mean...
Challengers is brought to you by this thing that does this thing.
I'm not saying there won't be next episode. I'm just saying I have yet another unread email from them.
Sure.
With more rules. That literally, when they said, hey, just put a link in the bio, and I said to you, I'd rather just talk about it for the money than having to write up a thing and cut and paste it. Like, if you want to give me a script, and I can print it out, and
like
we
the
can
Mac Tutor,
and we could pretend that it's organic, yeah, I'm all for that.
Sure.
But yeah, so here's us turning down money.
I mean, we're not turning it down, but it definitely, like, for the amount of money they were offering, it became like, this is too much work. Like, I'm going to go ahead and say, we're talking 2 figures here, okay? We're not talking about, like, some huge sum of money where it's like, well, Jesus, we can put in a little effort. For what they were offering, it's like, no, you made it too much work now. It's not worth it.
Were those figures a 5 added to a 5?
No, it was more.
I know
what
it was. I know what it was.
I'm going to go ahead and say more than $50, less than $100.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's like, meh.
I don't know. Like again, I'm not saying we won't do it next episode.
Sure.
I also don't have to worry about them hearing us say this now because it's obvious they've never listened to this podcast.
Which, fine.
And they really only care about the links in the bio.
Sure.
So if you're listening to Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast...
You already said all this.
Focus, I know. I was going further with it.
Focusing
on accounting next week. And you see a bunch of links in the bio, you'll know what's up.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I mean, as mentioned, I want to say on the episode where I jokingly dismissed the idea of anyone ever wasting their money advertising on Contest of Challengers, I can be bought.
Oh, sure.
I am not in any way above taking money to shill out for whatever product people want. Don't care.
Like, okay, hypothetically, Chipotle is willing to advertise.
Sure.
Specifically, your local Chipotle.
Okay, yes.
What would garner them a mention a week for you? Would it be as low as 2 free chicken quesadillas per month?
Oh, man, it would take less than that. Like, basically, the service I get from them now and the frequent free sodas I get when I go in and buy food and eat it there, that's enough. If they were just like, could you mention us on your podcast? I'd be like, sure.
Say, Dal, I'm unfamiliar with which location of Chipotle that may be.
Uh-oh.
Where may this address be?
It's the one, I'm not looking it up. It's the one on Damon Avenue in Wicker Park, Bucktown.
The one that is literally a straight line 4 blocks east of Challengers.
Yes, which hilariously, because of the stupid way that Chicago works at streets, there is no street that runs directly east.
No.
There's a bunch of diagonal streets that you have to cross over, which make it kind of difficult to get there in a straight line from Challengers. But yeah, it's Damon between Armitage and North Avenue.
Now, it's one thing to recommend a business because you like their service, but no, if you're mentioning them on the podcast, like what would you would need to get something.
I would. I'm bad at negotiating for my services, as evidenced by my lifestyle, I guess.
All right, let me change topics. Not topics. Let me change sponsors.
Okay.
Sarpinos.
Okay.
What do you want from Sarpinos?
Want pizza?
Well,
how often would you, like, A pizza a week, would that be sufficient for you to be like, I will mention you on the podcast for a pizza a week?
Oh, no, I'm like you. I think a pizza a month is sufficient.
Okay.
I mean, would you eat Sorpino's pizza every week?
I almost already do.
You shouldn't.
Oh, there's a lot of things I do weekly that I shouldn't do.
Yeah, I think...
Like this episode of Contest of Challengers.
Why shouldn't you do it?
Why shouldn't I eat pizza?
No, why shouldn't you do this podcast?
Oh, I don't know. I was making a joke.
So, a longtime listener and patron,
Patron.
Chris Burton,
Yeah.
came in the store this week for the
did.
first time.
Yes. Appeared in the flesh.
Yes.
Which he actually has, and I can say now, is a human being with a human being body.
I cannot prove that because I wasn't there.
No, you have to take my word for it.
I'd say you were for a lot of things.
Yeah, I feel like I'm sort of trustworthy on this stuff. Like,
Well,
you don't think I'd lie about
like,
it.
I wouldn't bring this up if I didn't automatically believe you.
Okay, cool.
But the reason I bring up Chris Burton is not because he's a patron, not because he's a longtime listener and a club member,
And a flesh and blood human
and
being.
who doesn't even live in Chicago, which is amazing, and we're very thankful for that.
Thanks, Chris.
But he pointed out to you that sometimes it sounds like you don't like this podcast.
I don't know that he even used the word sometimes. Yeah,
We're not gonna dwell on the fact that this is just an aspect of Dal's job.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like I go on and on the podcast, and I definitely try and explain that to Chris. It's not that I dislike doing the podcast; it's that I wanted to make it clear, like, this isn't like. There's a lot of people who do podcasts where it's like, God, I love doing these. This is my passion. I wish I could do this full time. This show is not my full time job. It is an aspect of my full time job that I do to support my full time job.
Right. I've always felt that this podcast is a way to garner more exposure for what we do and how we do it and why we do it. And it hopefully gives our regular customers a better insight into the way the store that they patronize regularly runs, but also piques the interest of people who aren't from Chicago who maybe want to stop in when they're around or who have been going to a specific store for so long that they didn't realize that there's another option out there.
Yeah, and
So, yeah, if I didn't own a comic shop, I would not have a comics podcast.
yeah, that's the thing. There's no roadmap where this ends with me going like, oh my God, I'm going to transition full time to the Contest of Challengers podcast and stop running the store. If I stop running the store, why the hell would I have a podcast about running a store? That makes no sense.
A well-known media personality has suggested that I try to become like Joe Rogan and just have a podcast empire.
Jesus.
And I thought, I don't have that kind of ambition.
I don't know that anyone's life should ever be modeled after Joe Rogan's, but okay, fine.
I mean, I enjoy news radio. And the point is, I have a lot of outside interests that I don't feel the need to, like, if you say, yeah, I want to do a podcast for it, but once you decide to do it, it becomes
It's a
a
job.
schedule, a thing
Yeah,
you have to do.
You have to be on top
And-
of it. You can't just like, oh, I want to talk about this new metal album this week. You have to talk about a metal album every single week.
Yeah. Unless it's just like The Life of Me, which it's not.
Ugh.
So, as much as I like talking about the things outside of comics that I'm interested in, that's not what this podcast is for.
No.
So if I can move on to our first order of business.
Common Rider goes.
Did you know that Landry Jones, the former Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, has just signed to the XFL?
I heard that earlier this
He
afternoon.
is the first player to that league.
Is he any good?
Well, he was a former starting quarterback for the Steelers.
But, I mean, there's a lot of people who are former NFL players who were never good, and that's why they're former.
I mean, shouldn't you wonder where he fit in if Ben Roethlisberger has been the quarterback of the Steelers for forever?
Was this from, like, 15 years ago?
No.
Was it, like, for a short period when
Yeah.
Roethlisberger was hurt? Okay.
Anyway, that was a joke. We're not talking about the XFL.
Okay, cool.
I actually gave myself a great segue, but wanted to get to the Landry Walker joke. So, Landry Jones.
Yeah, Landry Q. Walker.
Landry Q. Walker. Landry QB Walker.
Yeah.
Landry QB Jones. Oh, man, look at that. Comics bleed into everything.
Yeah, Landry Q. Walker, who was
Man.
the artist for the really excellent Supergirl Cosmic Adventures
Yes.
in the 8th grade.
Uh-huh.
Which is so weird that book exists, and we've pushed it forever. And at a time where, like, middle school stuff for younger readers is huge. Like, all of that stuff is a goddamn empire. And yet, like, the goofy Supergirl comic where she's an 8th grade student, nobody cares about. We cannot get anyone to buy that graphic novel. And we especially can't get anyone to buy it if we recommend it, because what kid's going to care what, like, people in their 40s and 50s think are good comic books? They don't care. I have no credibility with, like, 11-year-olds.
I often have A, that same experience, and B, tell parents that while they're looking for suggestions in sidekicks, I will tell the parent what I like and why and what their kids may like, because the kid's not going to listen to me, and if I recommend it, and I don't mean me specifically, I mean the authority figure,
an adult.
It'll have a black mark against it.
Right.
Like, it'll be a thing they don't want to do.
Yeah.
And it just, there's a level of, well, just an age difference. And I want to bring up last night's Caroline Cash Girl in the World signing. Girl in the World. I didn't hit the D on that. Silver Sprocket's graphic novel, Girl in the World, from Chicago's own Caroline Cash. We had a release event where she did a quick presentation and a Q&A and then signed for a while. And this was a thing that was entirely my idea. When I saw that the book was listed, we're fans of the publisher Silver Sprocket from San Francisco and like Haight-Ashbury area. And every June when the Chicago Alternative Comics Expo was in town, Avi from Silver Sprocket would come into Challengers and pitch his stuff, and then they got a deal with Diamond, so all their stuff was showing up in Diamond. So we've carried their things like...
Magical Girl Beatdown.
Okay, I couldn't remember the girl. I was going to say Magical Beatdown. Couldn't remember the girl part. Magical Girl Beatdown and...
All the Benji Nate stuff.
All the
Michael Sweater stuff.
Yeah. I'm not going to list everything.
Sure.
There's
things, books.
plenty of things.
You can look them up on the internet.
all I always come to is, I think our friend Dan is a dolphin, which is the one book of theirs we didn't have real success with.
Yeah, I thought it was fun, but yeah, people did not seem like they were as thrilled with it as I was.
So we give Silver Sprocket a closer look in the ordering every time they had something listed. And I saw Girl in the World, and we already had somebody in club who was down for it. And I forget what it was about it. Something made me look it up further, and then I realized, oh, Caroline Cash is from Chicago. So I found her website and reached out and said, hey, you've got this book coming out. We've got people who are interested. Do you want to do a thing for it? And that was months ago. And then eventually we said, yeah. She said, yeah, we're going to do it. And I didn't realize that she was so close that she actually works at Quimby's. And that's when you go, oh, really? Oh, yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I was going to look up the Girl in the World solicit and see if there's anything in there that I can go.
Oh, that can point to it?
That's why I'd look it up.
Okay.
Did you think I was just screwing around?
I thought you were playing Wordscape.
I would not play Wordscape in the middle of the
You have before.
Only when you're reading from a prepared statement.
I see.
Oh,
Okay.
here we go. There's the fourth sentence is, Chicago indie comics star Caroline Cash's Silver Sprocket debut proves that there's nothing cooler than cool girls. I imagine that was the line that made you go, Chicago.
Right. That's probably a good one. I thought, cool girls, they must be in Chicago. Mm-hmm. So we set up this event, and it was last night, and a lot of her friends came out, which was great.
Yeah, for sure.
And Caroline could not have been easier to work with, and she's such a sweet and caring person.
Yeah, super duper nice.
So nice, and so, concerned about everybody.
Made up the flyer for the event and everything?
Yeah, but just little things. When someone is saying something about, oh, I was doing this thing with my sister over the weekend, she'll go, how is your sister?
Oh, that's great.
Just concerned about everything. And such a really, I can't think of a better way to use this, but a really present person.
Empathetic.
That we'll take that as well. And really excited to do the event, and I was actually kind of surprised that her first major launch event is not at Quimby's.
Yeah, it was really nice of her to give her time like that.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have, so, more power to her.
And again, her friends came out in droves with standing room only. There's photos up on our Facebook page about it.
Literally standing room only. They were people backed up to the counter.
I feel like the majority of the people who were there did not care where they were.
No, that was my first statement after the event ended.
They're happy to come out and support her.
Sure.
And we sold more copies of the book than we expected to. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, sure, okay.
Not as many as we ordered, but we always like to hedge our bets.
Yeah, I'd rather have extra than have too few.
And also, she drew in a bunch of them.
Yeah, it was nice.
That are available now. And it was almost that generational divide you're just talking about with 11-year-olds, that these are all, either in college or just out of art school kids.
Right.
And from the outside, we're still pretty much a superhero store.
Yeah, when we do events like this, there's always the hope that reaching outside of our core demographic, so to speak, will introduce people to the store that maybe would appreciate it. That's a very optimistic view of what could happen. The pragmatic view is that generally, yeah, like when we do events like this, where we carried Caroline Cash's book, and honestly, it's a sort of book that we wouldn't traditionally do well with at Challengers. We might sell a few, but it's not going to be like, you know, the new Tilly Walden book, or the new Eve Ewing book, or the new Jeff Lemire book, or whatever, where there's like, oh, there's a fan base for these folks, and they are shopping at our store. It is not going to be House of X.
It already had the Silver Sprocket Plus to it, and then it had a local connection as well. So that made us order, before the event even, order a little more than we normally would have for if this was just a creator from Silver Sprocket we'd never heard of.
Right. So doing an event like this...
But also, do you think we would have overlooked this book if it was from a completely unheard of publisher?
Probably, yeah.
Probably, yeah.
There's definitely publishers in the catalog that we take a closer look at because we like their taste, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, First Second did such a great job kind of choosing books and shaping books that I'm almost always going to order whatever First Second list because it's like I know they pick good authors and they get good books out of them.
They've got some series that are pretty deep that we never carried.
Yeah, if it's a long-running series that maybe predates our interest in First Second, that's one thing. But if it's a new book by whomever,
sure. Oni is a company that we ordered almost every single thing they do.
Yeah.
And First Second, definitely.
Yeah.
And Silver Sprocket is right there.
Yeah, Silver Sprocket doesn't have a huge listing of books, so it's usually, maybe 2 or 3 things at the most in a catalog. So it's easy for us to say, okay, well, this one's $7 and this one's like $10, so we'll carry both of them. It's not a huge risk.
Right. They're not doing 15 graphic novels.
Yeah. It's not a shared superhero universe or whatever. It's, stuff where you feel like there's someone at the helm who has an interest in comics as an art form and is picking things that they like, and if you like what they like, you're going to like all the stuff they make. So doing an event for something like Girl in the World, the hope is that all of the Caroline Cash fans will come and find Challengers, and then we will be on their radar. But we've done this so many times, what we always find out is, no, they'll come for Caroline Cash. She could be at Quimby, and they go there. She could be at Challengers, she'd go there. She could be at Electric Mud across the street, they'd go there. She could be at PNC Bank, and they'd go there. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, as long as it's a place where they can see her at, and maybe there's free beer, they'll go. But that doesn't mean that they're going to buy extra stuff at Challengers or become regular customers or take an interest in stuff outside of a very specific version of comics art that they are already fans of. Like, we did not expose them to the breadth of the medium so much as they maybe found 1 or 2 things that is similar to what they like at other places.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy enough that some people bought extra stuff. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like everybody did, but how many events have we done like this where people don't even buy the book?
Oh my God, so many.
There's it's funny, I'm not going to name names, but somebody had named a creator who's doing a thing at Quimby's.
Uh-huh. Yes.
And it's somebody that we had at our store for an event.
Yeah.
An all-star event, if you will, a local all-star event.
You mentioned it to them, yeah.
And it was one of our, not worst events, but we didn't, of a structured thing with 5 local creators.
Nobody cared.
And we had all of their work there. We sold a single copy of 1 book.
Yeah.
Because for that whole event.
Like, what? I don't want to generalize and say there's specific kinds of cliques or crowds or camps in Chicago's comic scene. And I didn't mean to do that as alliterative as I did, but there you have it. But there's kind of a friends of friends sort of community where someone's doing a show and it's like, oh, all of my friends are going to come out and support me. And the problem that we have frequently with those events is that if it's not somebody whose work would sell on its own without us pushing it at Challengers, the success we have with it is kind of very narrow. It's not like we got Jonathan Hickman to come in and sign for House of X or whatever, where people are already responding to that book and then he shows up or whatever. We hope that people will come in and buy this book, but they need the author to be there or they could not care less about it.
And we were lucky enough to do this.
For us anyway, and I'm only speaking for our clientele. these artists that we have occasionally where their fans treat it like a party at their house, as opposed to a signing at a store.
That was one of Caroline's jokes, is that she felt like this was just like everybody who was there had been to her house before.
Yeah.
So she just feels like she's in her living room.
Yeah, which, I mean, hopefully that made her feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
I know that it can be kind of awkward sometimes to be at the front of a room like that, facing a bunch of people staring at you. But yeah, it's...
I was just going to say that we were lucky enough to schedule this right when the book came out, so a lot of people didn't already have the opportunity to buy the book elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because otherwise that's exactly what would have happened.
Yeah.
Like with our Cami Garcia and Gabriel Piccolo signing for Raven, half the people already had the book and brought it in from somewhere else.
Right.
And we have yet to pull the trigger on no, you have to buy the book.
It's coming up.
Yeah, it definitely is.
It's definitely coming up.
Because every bookstore does that.
Yeah, and we thought about it for Raven, but we'd already announced and promoted the event. So saying at a later date, oh, by the way, you have to buy the book, who's going to know that? How many people are going to get that communicated to them? They're not looking at the Facebook entry again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we would have to do it from inception, and I don't think we found the right... Like, we're not going to do it for Mike Norton's Battle Plug event. Like, hopefully you'll buy the book.
And plus, it's a $4 comic.
And I'm not going to police it. Like, that's more of like a hangout party thing. There's hot dogs. There's people bringing their pets. I don't know. If you buy stuff, great. It's not a big deal. But yeah, anytime we're going to have like a big author thing...
Anytime that we're paying for travel, that's going to be on the docket for sure.
Yeah, I'm people who are local artists, I'm not that concerned with because our buy-in is not that great. But if we're part of like a book tour or something, yeah, we're going to ask you to buy the book.
It's only fair.
I think so.
I think so too. But anyway, I was... we had it. I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
We're not going to stop doing stuff like that.
No, I hope it was fun for Caroline, and I hope it was fun for her fans. That's definitely what we want out of something like this. I hope they had a good time. We don't regret doing it in any way.
No.
Obviously, like, our expectations versus the reality is something that's less about the artist and more about our expectations, and maybe we need to have a better appraisal of those in the future.
But
it's
do you think part of that is this? The whole reason we brought this up was the generational gap, where you got two guys in suits who, I mean, does that mean we're corporate to the art school kids?
I don't want to generalize. I don't think we're their store.
No, right.
I think like I remember being on a bus, and there were two women who were seated a couple seats behind me, and I was on North Avenue, and we passed Quimby's. And they said, oh, there's Quimby's. It's the best comic book store in Chicago. And the other one's like, oh, really? Yeah, they have all these great, like, weird little books, and, like, they have a photo booth, and they have zines, and it's like, none of that says comics to me.
Right.
But that environment of Quimby's means a lot to so many comics fans. Yeah. Like, they don't... Comics doesn't mean to them what it means to us. It doesn't mean graphic novels. It doesn't mean color artwork. It doesn't mean... pictures with word balloons. It doesn't mean any of that. Comics means, Zine Fest is their C2E2,
Oh, sure.
Like that's, and I can't fault anyone for finding that in comics as opposed to finding what I find in comics, but it just means that I have to be aware of, that's not a market that we are going to have access to or have the ability to serve as well as Quimby's does. Flat out.
Right.
I know they're having Chris Ware out in the future.
Yeah.
If I was Chris Ware and I had 100 chances to choose between Challengers and Quimby's, I would pick Quimby's 100 times.
Oh, you mean the store that he designed the logo for?
The store that he did the logo for. The store that he's been involved with for his entire career.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would he sign the Challengers? And even aside from like the personal investment he has in that store, Quimby's is way more of a store for Chris Ware than Challengers is.
Sure.
We'll do okay with Rusty Brown. We did okay with Building Stories. But oh my God, that's going to be the book of the year for them. They're going to sell, I would hazard a guess, 10 times what we're going to sell, not even counting the Chris Ware signing.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure.
Oh my God. They're going to sell pallets of that book.
Right, but by that same token, we've never even tried to get Chris Ware for
No,
an event.
I never would. No.
I mean, we had Peter Bagg.
True.
Like, Fantagraphics suggested us to Peter Bagg.
Yeah, and it was very nice of them.
And he had a bad time.
Yeah.
He didn't have a bad time. It was not a good signing.
No, it definitely was not worth his time. And yeah, it's I feel like we've talked about this a million times, but it's a thing where there's so much I like in the medium, and I don't know that we're able to cultivate an audience for a lot of that stuff in the way that I would like to. Like, I don't think of us as a superhero comic store or a mainstream-only comic store, but if you broke out the numbers, yeah, we're a mainstream comic store.
Yeah.
Like, the stuff that we do well with is largely Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image. I think there's stuff outside of that.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Go on.
What do we do well with for Dark Horse?
Hellboy.
Do we?
I mean, people still buy those comics and the graphic novels.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to nitpick.
Invisible Kingdom.
You know what I'm saying. Okay.
She Could Fly.
All right. Well is a word you'd use, huh?
Yeah, compared to other books? Oh my God. Christ. Compared to some Marvel and DC comics? Yes. Jesus.
Okay. I'm sorry, I knocked you off your
and there's
train of thought.
sidekicks that we do, I think, really well with, and a lot of the publishers in there. But I mean, there's so many niche publishers and stuff where it's like, I can't find an audience for this. There's a lot of stuff that Fantagraphics and Drama Quarterly put out, where even if we spotlighted it, people would go, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, the audience that comes in, I think we have a very diverse audience in the sense of a lot of the people that come in casually are not necessarily tied into specific, fictional universes or publishers or imprints so much as they're just looking for interesting stuff. But I'd be lying if I didn't say all those people tend to gravitate towards Image graphic novels. Like, our casual audience is it's a vast majority of them are, like, Image fans. Like, they'll read nearly anything Image puts out, and they're not, super choosy about that. They like different genres, and they'll try different things that Image publishes from their genres, but they don't necessarily, like, go to the horror section and go, oh, I'd never seen this book from Koyama Press. Like, they're not doing that. Like, they're looking at the big series and franchises, and it just happens to be from Image. Like, that's their Marvel and DC. But it means that a lot of stuff, like things from Silver Sprocket, require us to push them a lot harder. The audience that would come in for that and buy it casually does not come into Challengers a lot. They go to Quimby's. That's where that book is going to do much better.
So, you mentioned graphic novels.
Did I? Accidentally.
You did on purpose. And we actually have a patron question from Ryan Alcock, and I'm...
Paraphrasing?
Thank you. Man, could not think of that word. Paraphrasing, because I only wrote down the basics. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's about trade waiters. Sure. He is listening to older episodes where we talked about how people say they're going to wait for a trade, but we don't feel they actually do.
Yeah, like your thing is that they say they're going to. Maybe it's my thing. Maybe it's our thing.
It's our thing. We can both have a thing.
People say they're, like, they'll look at a first issue, and they'll say, oh, this looks good, but you know what? I'm just going to want to read it as a trade. I'm going to wait till the trade comes out, and I'll buy it then. The trade comes out 8 months later, and they forgot they ever even liked what they saw of the first chapter, so they have no interest in buying a trade for it.
And they're already excited for the new thing that they're going to trade wait for.
Yeah.
So, Ryan's question was, were we talking specifically about club members or not? I assume there must be a sort of... sorry. I can't read my own handwriting. Look at that. Look at that scribble. I assume there must be a set of people...
Roger Federer.
Who... Jimmy Carr looks a lot like Roger Federer.
I love jokes on the podcast that literally only you or I could ever get, because you and I are the only people involved in the conversation where that joke generated.
Anybody who knows Jimmy Carr and or Roger Federer gets this joke.
Was that not a clue? When he said he was a 20 when he was 16, was that not a clue? Should we have not gone with that? He said it, and we both heard, and I said, well, we should go for him, and then you said...
You look so like Roger Federer. All I'm thinking is, why am I playing tennis?
If I ever listen to an old episode, I guarantee you there'd be jokes where I'm like, why are we laughing at that?
What is
was
that
about?
Funny?
Because it's a thing that we talked about 5 hours before the podcast and then completely forgot about. Anyway, go on.
I assume there must be a set of people who reliably buy trades who have no interest in singles. Yes, but if you track any series trade numbers, they dramatically go down. And
oh god, yeah.
When we talk about waiting for the trade, I don't know that when we talk about it, that definitely mean ongoing series that have numerous volumes. I just mean like miniseries or a new Image title that comes out. Obviously, usually with an Image title, when they offer the book, they offer the trade quick enough that we can put it in the system for people. Like if somebody just says, oh, this book is coming out, can you sign me up for the trade?
Yeah.
Often we
Easy
can
to
do that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So we don't mean club members because we have a way to track that and to guarantee they get it.
Right, and plus, most of our subscribers are single comics only people.
Saints and just salt of the
Yes.
earth and just good people.
Yeah, I don't want to throw around the word hero. However, they mostly just get single issue comics. When they buy collections, it's maybe like a few times a year, but not like on a regular basis. And it's almost always not like sequential superhero graphic novels. And that's the other part of this, where it's not like someone's picking up a copy of Jane Foster Valkyrie #1 on the shelf, flips through it and goes, oh no, I'm definitely going to want the trade. They almost always mean a non-superhero series. Like, that's the stuff where it's like, I'm going to want to keep this forever. It's not just, the nightly news, like superhero comics are, where past a certain window of time, it loses all relevance. They mean something like Little Bird or Infidel or something like that. And the risk is, once it comes out, it's not going to mean anything to them anymore. So even if we could put them down for it, like, they don't even want to be subscribed to it if they're subscribers. They want to wait. And the non-subscribers, they don't want to pre-order it. Like, they'll wait till the whole book is done, and then they'll check it out again. But then they forget, and they don't do it anyway.
I guarantee you I'm the exact same way on a lot of things. A thing that I will look at in catalog and say, I totally want that. I'll forget, or later I'll be like, why did I want this?
What I started doing for myself is there's a number of graphic novels each month where I'll see them in the catalog and go, I don't necessarily want to own that, but I 100% want to read that. I know we'll carry it. I'll just borrow a copy when it comes in. But then when it comes in, I kind of forget about it, or I don't.
You have something else to read that week?
Or more than anything, it's just like, I don't want to pull one of our only copies because I don't know how quickly I'm going to read this, and I don't want it sitting at home when it could be in the store to be sold to someone. So what I started to do is there's a few books each month where I'm like, I'm going to pre-order that. I'm not going to... So that way a copy is allocated for me. Take it home, I'm going to read it. Then I'm going to bring it back to the store and we're going to sell it. And in the meantime, like, it won't be like taking up space from our inventory. It'll just be a bonus copy we have at the end.
Yeah, that actually worked against me once, where I finally decided, like, you know what? I want to read Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me, so I went to read your copy, which you'd already returned.
Yeah. Took it on vacation, read it, put it back on the shelf. Yeah, there's a few things coming out over the next few months where I'm like, I definitely want to make it a point to read that. I don't just want to depend on me feeling like it one day.
Hey, Contest of Challengers listener. This is Patrick with a brief aside from the normal Contest of Challengers content to tell you about an Alzheimer's 5K that I'm participating in a few weeks in honor of my mother, who is in the late stages of this horrible disease. My siblings and I have banded together the last several years to participate in this same Alzheimer's 5K. Our team is 4Fran, that is the number 4 spelled out because there's 4 of us siblings. We are participating again, however, a little bit differently. My brother is actually on staff for this particular walk. He's in charge of getting teams to return to participation. He and I and my nephew Parker, he of Parker's Picks fame, will actually be participating in the 5K, while our sisters will be manning some informational booths and taking care of people who are there for the day to be part of it. And we're doing this to raise money for Alzheimer's research. Of the 6 major diseases that take the lives of Americans every year, Alzheimer's is the only one that has yet to have a survivor. Alzheimer's research has come very far and progress is being made all the time, and I'm confident that in my lifetime we will find the first Alzheimer's survivor. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm convinced it's going to happen and soon, and that is a strong reason why my family and I, including our 82-year-old father, participate in events like this. So yes, this is a fundraising plea. If you have the ability to donate or interest in learning more, please go to rememberingfrancis.com, and that will tell you all about my mom's story and what we as a family are doing. That's rememberingfrances.com. gmail.com. Thanks. And now back to the podcast. Earlier in this podcast, and I just remembered the transition that I wanted to use, and now I'm just abruptly doing it because I want to get back there, and there's no natural segue. But we were talking about doing the podcast as an added value to the store and what we hope that accomplishes. And there are more and more stores that are doing actual YouTube video series.
Uh-huh.
And
You said you wanted to do one for us.
well, there's a specific thing I want to do. Like okay, a couple years ago, I wanted us to do like regular top lists of, who's your favorite superhero, what's your
Right.
favorite super pet, all
But
those
you,
kind
you
of
said
things.
there's one you wanted to do
Well,
recently.
no,
Okay.
getting there.
Okay.
And it was so much pulling teeth to get every employee involved.
Oh, never involve the employees.
Well, but the point is, I think it's dull if it's just you and I. And I want it to
You're
be
not wrong.
a more rounded, list. So we did one of those. I want to be in a 10-minute thing, which I thought was way too long.
The problem is doing one of these things, like the path, if you're going to include the employees, runs through Ashley. And Ashley doesn't want to
It's not just Ashley, it's everybody.
I mean, it's not
It
just,
was
but
everybody.
that's always... That's the
Yeah.
one where it really comes off the rails.
I
because
mean,
Ashley
if
does
you
not
were
wanna
having
do
a
it.
conversation with her, she is great. But the second she knows that you're filming it to
Or
be
recording
used,
it? Oh my
Yeah.
god. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep, that's why it won't work.
So, yeah, there's the thing that I'm not going to say what it is, but I still want to do it.
You don't
I
want to
still
say what
think
it
it's
is?
well because I want to. I
You
just
want
want
it to be a surprise for people?
Well, no, I mean, if I say it, people will expect it, and we may never do it.
Well, I think that's why you should say it, because that puts a little bit more pressure on us to
Also,
actually...
we have said it before.
Yeah, but you
the
could say it again.
podcast.
I think mentioning is valuable. One, it can put pressure on us because now it's on the record. We said it. We should probably do it.
Yeah, but
But secondly, I think maybe it's a good way to gauge interest. Like, if people respond to that and go, oh, that sounds fun, I'd watch it.
respond.
I mean, you get people responding to this podcast on a weekly basis.
Okay.
I know you do. You show it to me. Don't laugh like it doesn't happen.
Sure.
I know it does.
Yeah. Mhm. Okay, I will make a point to tell you everything Dennis Barger laughs at us for.
That's fine. I
In
could
the
care
future.
less.
But also, again, this requires a third person.
Does it, though? Couldn't you just put it on a stand? Does it have to be...
No, somebody has to set it up.
What do you mean? Say what it is, because
It is a very brief game show called Comic in a
Oh,
Box.
no, I was thinking about something else entirely.
Oh, what are you thinking of?
You had said you wanted to start doing something where each month we do a little video.
Oh, yeah, that thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I did say that.
Do you want to describe it to the people, or do you want me to?
Basically, it's a breakdown of previews and what we think is exciting for the month to get people a little more in-depth look at the things we think are valuable as entertainment for
Yeah.
the 2 months in advance.
On the website each month in the subscriber info tab, we usually have a posting where it's all the new single issues and graphic novels and important stuff from that month's catalog. And there's a little section at the top where I'll put in this stuff I'm most excited about, the stuff I think is the most, should be on people's radar. But it's just the cover image and the solicit text. I don't really do any, here's why, because that would take me too long and I don't have the time. But if we were to do a video each month, I think it'd be kind of interesting because it allows us to say, okay, well, here's Jonathan Hickman's X-Men #1, beyond here's what it is, why are we excited about it? What about it makes us excited? Whatever. Pitch it a little bit more than just kind of dropping in people's lap and going, well.
The reason that we haven't done anything with it is, first of all, it would have been just the most recent previews would be the first time.
Right.
Second of all, I still need you to do that page so I could read it and see what it is.
Sure.
And then we would have to print everything out so we have the synopses and things, but we
Sure.
want to make it like an organic conversation or not reading off of it.
Right.
So we'd have to line that up somewhere where we could see it.
Okay. These don't sound like a insurmountable problem.
And then all the editing of dropping in the
Cover images and stuff.
images on the right part of it.
Sure. Over
Yeah.
my face.
I think it does have value.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm looking for that extra work.
That's fine. That's totally
But
valid.
yeah,
It was your suggestion, so if you don't want
was
to do
mine.
it,
It was mine.
fine.
Yeah. Well, I was talking about a fun little game show idea that I want, and I still want to do it.
Sure, I remember that.
Which is a bluffing game.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I've seen this week alone. I've seen more comic shop videos than I have before, and I have to say that
Do you think it's radicalizing you? like a lot of YouTube stuff does, where it just gets more and more extreme, and then by the end of it, you're just like, Dal, next week we have to put in wood paneling all over all of the walls, black out the windows, T-shirts only from now on. And I'll be like, Patrick, you are getting deprogrammed.
No, I'm getting...
I am sending you on a one-way ticket to All-Star Comics Melbourne.
Okay.
They're going to fix you like rehab, and then eventually they're going to ship you back when you're ready to be in the world.
So I have to come back.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if Mitchell and the All-Star staff doesn't mind having me as they
deprogram
a resident staff member, I'll do it. No doubt, it's the opposite. It's making me realize how good our store is and how much I hate everyone else.
Well, that's good.
Which you would think that comics in general did for me regularly, but I wouldn't need to see.
No, it's instructional.
Other videos
to look at other stores.
There's a video, and I'm gonna call out the store, and because I've been telling people all week to watch it.
Name and shame.
The video series and the store is called the Comic Book Palace. It is a store somewhere in Massachusetts, and this is their video series is just like fly on the wall kind of stuff, although not entirely because they interview customers. And it is a guy who is my age, who's been working in a store for a long time,
33 years old,
who the whole store is. Did you look at any of it or not?
No.
The whole store is the opposite of Challengers, and it's one of those stores that put Captain Marvel #8 on the wall for $10 the day it came out.
Sure.
Because it's got a new character.
Yeah.
And this guy will
How
go
fast
through.
did we sell Captain Marvel #9?
This guy will go through what you're buying and tell you what he thinks is absolute garbage. And the people that shop there love him, love the store. Maybe they don't have any other store experiences. There are legitimately
I think that's part of it.
Like there are customers that complain about too many women superheroes. And,
oh God!
Yet there was an interview with a woman who saw the Captain Marvel movie, thought she should learn more, came in, and now she buys comics there every week because it's the pro and the con.
Sure.
In the same store, which I'm sure everybody has. It's just a matter of finding it.
Yeah, I mean, we're not the guys that are going to draw out someone's misogyny. Like, we don't want to have that conversation with someone. So I'm sure there's a bunch of weird misogynists who shop at Challengers.
Yeah, that we just don't know about it.
That won't say it out loud because they know that we would be really upset.
And they're like 40-minute episodes, and they're infuriating, but it's a microcosm that still exists.
Plus, you like being angry.
I don't.
Yeah, you do.
I don't.
You do.
You think I do because I spend so much time doing it, but I would much rather be happy.
Okay.
So
Agree to disagree.
Dal, before we came into this recording studio today, we were out all day on a store-related errand.
God, it was a beautiful day out. Just
right, okay. Shut your mouth.
What? I'm sorry I spoke out of turn. I should not have said it was a nice day.
Did you or did you not yell at me in the car and say, shut your whore mouth?
You have no proof of that.
How many times was I mad today? Before recording.
Oh.
Zero! It's zero!
No, there was a time when you were super duper mad at a guy on the road. And
okay, that doesn't count.
It was, no, that was yesterday. Yeah, that was Wednesday. Yes, because we were about to hit Duncan, and there was a guy who was like, you were so furious at like his being in the weird lane, and then was like, if he turns into Duncan, I'm going to be so mad. And it was already like, calm down.
Driving is a whole different thing.
Agreed. Everyone's got a little road rage. I get it.
And
Chicago,
you
whatever.
don't drive.
I have. I've driven. I'm a driver.
You don't ever drive me. Yeah, I get angry when people cut me off or...
But anyway, no, getting back to your original question, no, you were in good spirits the entire day until I needled you to a place that made you so angry. Which was somewhere in this episode, and people can write down the time code, send it in.
What do they win?
For a free no prize.
I legitimately wonder with how you come off on the podcast to other people, not to me.
I mean, apparently, like...
Well, that's the point.
A total downer.
But in store, how often do... Because you are definitely never as mad as I am in the store.
No, never.
Although you should be. And I'm mad at you for not being mad.
Yeah, so the podcast Dal and store Dal and non-podcast, non-Store Dal, they're three very different people. There's topics that we get into on the podcast that angry up the blood to the extent that I'm sure I sound like a raving lunatic.
Spoiler alert, one's still coming.
Yeah, well, probably. I mean, almost definitely. Like, I feel like I'm in the movie Network, where it's just me, bug-eyed, sweaty, screaming about the indignities of the world. And that some of that is just because it's you and me talking. And when you and I are talking about something in the industry, we're not trying to, like, shape it for other people or, you know, sugar it for people to let them know, like, oh, well, I'm not angry about this all the time. Here's a bunch of good things to portray the industry in a good light. I couldn't care less how I portray the industry when I'm mad at it. Like, that's not my concern. This is not Go Team Comics, you know? In the store, it's a different thing. Like, even if we have discussions about this sort of stuff in the store, I don't ever want my attitude in the store to be angry or upset or vocally aggrieved, you know? I'm still in a store and I'm trying to sell people comic books. I'm trying to create an overall positive experience in the store. So everything in my behavior goes into that and tries to make that something where people who are just shopping or asking questions or want to have a discussion, that it's not negative, that it's something that is a positive, fun experience. When I'm not involved in the store or the podcast, I don't care about this stuff that much. Like, I got other things going on in my life. There's other interests of mine. I don't pore over comics news. I never go to comics forums or boards or subreddits or whatever. I don't care. Like, that's already my job. When I'm not doing my job, I don't want to think about my job. Like, I think most human beings.
See, I think of those things as still doing your job and helping you hopefully be better at your job.
Yeah, I mean, I'll read, like, publisher emails, and I'll occasionally check, like, a CBR or the Beat or whatever.
I think that
I don't
seeing
do
what
this.
other retailers are concerned about or dealing with is a way to stay ahead of
Which
that
can
kind
totally
of
be
thing.
something you do for Challengers.
And it is.
Yeah, I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on the retailer forums. If it was just me and there was no Patrick involved in Challengers, I'd probably have to do my job well. But that's one of the great
Glad to hear
things.
you say that. We need to talk.
Thank you. That's one of the great things about there being two of us in Challengers is that we can not delegate necessarily, but we can gravitate towards the different things that we have an affinity for. You've always been someone who's been more into social media than I have, so you're someone who's already using Facebook for yourself or for your family. So doing it for your business is not a new skill you have to learn or someplace that you have to suddenly carve out time in your schedule for. It's just an additional thing that you just click a different tab and you're there. So that can be something you do and you have an awareness of it. If it's something I need to know about, you just tell me. By the way, here's what people are saying on the boards. Great, thanks. I'd rather get it filtered through you than have to get the unfiltered version that Facebook has.
Okay. So, Comic Book Palace, or I'm sorry, Comic Book? Shit, I can't remember if it's Comic Book Palace or Comic Palace.
Uh-oh.
Comic Book Palace, I think it was.
Uh-oh.
Episode 42 was the newest one, and I'm not saying watch all 42 minutes. I'm saying watch as much as you can, and you know what? I guarantee there's somebody who listens to this podcast and who's going to look at it and say, that is my ideal store.
Sure.
That is what I want.
Yeah, there's definitely been stores I've disliked that people have gone to the mat for. What I would like you to do, Patrick, is can you film a reaction video? Just the camera filming you watching an episode of this, just to see, like, what's Patrick's face look like by minute 15 of this?
I mean, most people would think it was just a still photo.
You don't, like, scrunch up your face or go,
It would just be enraging the entire time.
I think the sound effects is what would really make it. Maybe just do an audio version.
Yeah, just
A patron-only audio version.
I'm just gonna take Albert Finney's voice from Network and just
Okay.
he was Albert Finney, right?
I
And
don't
just
think so.
have it go over and over again. Also, kudos on a Network reference.
Oh, thanks, dude.
You also had a great phrase that I was going to call out, but I didn't want to break your roll. You didn't want to stop your stride.
Thank you.
And I was going to say, whoa, Network and this other thing, and I didn't write it down. So it's moved on.
You'll find it later on the edit, and you'll let me know then.
I will not. I will not find it in the edit. Okay, so there's a thing that happened in the comic industry this week that I guess there's because this goes into the Superman Supergirl thing, but via store videos.
Okay.
There's a store in Chicago, which I guess is technically Chicago, that does a weekly video which is well written, full of information, used carsman sales shilling the whole time.
Oof.
But also, on this video, this store owner admitted that they will be doing a thing that DC Comics specifically said, do not do.
Yep.
It was another, like, this is the second store video that I saw almost, like, back-to-back, and I thought, people are doing this, and I think, like, the video that I proposed about us going through previews, I think people would rather watch it than read it, even though you and I are the exact opposite. Mm-hmm. I would much rather read a Washington Post article than watch a video. Yeah. Especially since their videos are just slideshows with text.
Plus, we're old now.
Well, I prefer to, I don't know, absorb the information in my own way.
You appreciate the written word.
I do. I do appreciate the written word. And you can focus on it more and absorb it better or skip ahead or do whatever. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not going to justify it. But anyway.
You don't have to.
This week, Superman 33 and Supergirl 13
Thanks for writing that down.
You're welcome. I do right
I think you actually have it reversed.
I do have it reversed. Supergirl 33 and Superman 13 were scheduled to come out from DC Comics. And as they were being sorted and pulled from the Diamond warehouses and sent to retailers, DC sent out information saying, hey, we don't want those issues going on sale. We want all the retailers to destroy them. The covers don't accurately depict what is happening inside. Specifically, they all have Year of the Villains trade dress, and that's where Lex Luthor is going to all the characters, heroes and villains, and side characters of the DC universe.
Or just other villain stuff. Like, there's a few other villains at the top, like Bane and, I can't remember, Leviathan, maybe? I can't remember.
Sure. Going to them and offering them things or having storylines that are villain-centric. And specifically, these two issues didn't factor into that. Yet they had the trade dress for it. So DC thought the best thing to do was to pulp these, or have the retailers pulp them. They're going to reprint these books with more accurate covers and ship them out later.
Mm-hmm. Like 2 weeks.
Yeah, but because it's a thing they don't want them on sale, they need retailers to destroy these books. Now, once word got out, the speculator and collector's market all thought, oh my god, these books are going to be super rare.
Holy god, recalled Superman comics? Jesus.
I mean, it's super rare for a book, and we're using recall wrong, but
it is. That's what everyone's going to call it. They're all going to call it recalled Superman comic.
It's very, very rare for a publisher to say, destroy those books, we'll give you new ones. Saga did it when they had a problem where they thought an issue cover was printed too dark.
Yeah.
And they didn't like how it represented their brand, so they'd like, forget it.
Or famously All-Star Batman, where there was an issue where someone drops an F-bomb?
Yeah, profanity was blocked out, but not good enough.
Yeah, the black bar over the 4-letter word wasn't 100% black. It was just kind of gray, so you could immediately see what word it was. And even though All-Star Batman was intended to be the slightly edgier Batman comic, that's a little too edgy for DC at the time. So they asked retailers after the comic had arrived to not sell them, to which a lot of retailers said, oh, it's a $40 book now? Thank you for letting me know, DC. Yeah. Yep. That's going to be a windfall. Mm-hmm. Thank you. God bless you,
now,
DC Comics.
There have been plenty of times where there have been errors before. For example, when Sabretooth erroneously used the word kike.
In one of the first ever, if not the first ever, Brian K. Vaughan comic.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. It was not in the script. It was misread by the letterer.
Yeah, it was. It's supposed to be the word killer, and something else got put in there by mistake.
And people always refer to that as the recalled Wolverine. That wasn't recalled.
No.
Marvel just said, hey, we're really sorry, that shouldn't have happened. It wasn't supposed to be that. That was a mistake.
Right.
They didn't reprint it. They didn't recall it.
Yeah.
They just said, mea culpa.
Because here's the thing about recalling comic books. You can't really do it. DC Comics is not going to be sending out representatives to every single account that received copies of Superman and Supergirl and pulling them off the shelves. All they can do is say, please don't sell them. We would prefer for them not to exist. Like, that's all they can do. They can't even really punish you. They can just say, please don't do this.
I do want to jump ahead a minute and say, first, we got an email from Diamond saying, don't pull these. Or, I'm sorry, pull these from the shelf. Don't sell them. And then there was a video that Dan DiDio did where it said, you need to tell Diamond you did this for us to give you replacements.
Huh.
We're going to believe you
Yeah, the affidavit is just you saying in an email, I did this.
Right.
Attesting to it.
But you have to tell them you did it, unless you're a store who was at the end of the pick line who we'd stopped and didn't pull for. You're just going to get them automatically.
Which was not Challengers.
So then I emailed, and we don't have a customer service rep at Diamond, so I just emailed Reorder Zed. I'm sure you saw that.
I did.
And I said, hey, I don't know who to send this to. Here we go. We did this. And then DC puts out a special email saying, hey, here's the person you send it to.
Great.
Like, you're telling me to do this. You're not giving me all the information. I have to do it 3 separate ways before I can get it done.
There's 3 pieces of information. You're giving them to me 8 hours apart.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Send it to Diamond. Okay, I did. No, I'm sorry. First it was just destroy them. Great. Then tell Diamond you did it. Okay, I did. Tell this specific person at Diamond. Like,
nice.
All right, fine. Whatever.
Get your ducks in a row.
Anyway, that's all taken care of. But, and weirdly, this isn't a factor to us. Did you get any phone calls asking for these books?
No.
No. However, industry-wide, people are going apeshit for this book. Supergirl is selling for $50 online.
Jesus.
And it's a book that some retailers had said, hey, what's everybody else doing? What do we do? It's an easy answer. You destroy those books.
Yeah. Your publishing partner asked you to destroy them. They're giving you free replacements. You're losing no money on it.
They're paying for the shipping as well, so you're not even worried about that.
Yeah, you just sell the books in 2 weeks when they send them to you.
Yeah, that's what you do. Yeah, but we're leaving money on the table. No, you're not. It wasn't your money.
No, you're just not taking advantage of the situation. You're not being a greedy asshole. So this is the whole thing. And this is the encapsulation of my entire thought on it, which is, so there is no rule from DC or Diamond that you have to do this. They're asking you to do it. They can't make you do it. But, no one can make you not be an asshole. But it's still a decision you're making to be an asshole.
Yeah.
So just because someone can't force you to do the right thing doesn't mean you're choosing to do the wrong thing. Do you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, I mean, how many times have we put ourselves in situations where we want to... something happens in the industry, or a creator that we have books on the shelf for does something, and we're like, okay, we don't want to order this Orson Scott Card Superman book because of what he's done in the past.
Yeah, people who are asking questions on retailer boards about what should we do are just assholes looking for ethical cover. They're just looking for someone to tell them...
it's okay.
Not even that it's okay. I'm also taking advantage of the situation, so it's not wrong for you to do it. It's this mob mentality where... you're looting. One person is a criminal, but a crowd of people, well, that's just a mob. You can't single me out. Everyone was doing it.
I'm just keeping up with this rate of speed of everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. So...
oh, Starbucks opens at midnight? We can open at midnight, too.
Yeah. I'm not an iota surprised that a group, if not maybe the majority of retailers, immediately took advantage of the situation and did the exact opposite of what their publishing partner asked them to do, because they could illicitly make more money. Not even illicitly, I don't know. It's, again, they didn't break any rules, but they knew what they were doing was wrong, and they chose to do it anyway. You're not entitled to sell this book for multiples of cover price, spitting in the face of your publishing partner. That's not some inherent right you have as a human being or as a retailer. There's right and wrong, and you know this is wrong, and you're doing it anyway.
Let me get back to the Orson Scott Card reference, because I don't want to leave that hanging there and what are you guys talking about?
Sure.
So when it was announced that he was writing a Superman book and all of his past, I don't know if indiscretion's the right word, but...
His viewpoints and his supports were for organizations that were counter to Challenger's beliefs.
So we decided that we just weren't going to stock that book for the shelf. If club members still wanted, if anybody wanted to pre-order it, fine. We're not going to tell you, no, you can't read this book. We are not going to offer it to general sale. Yeah. And then we were going to donate the money that we would have earned for those books...
whatever profits.
...to the human rights organization.
Yeah.
Or
to feel like we were offsetting whatever ill we were doing by ordering it for people.
And that wound up being a moot point because that book got canceled.
Yeah, because a lot of different retailers and creators said, you absolutely should not do this, DC Comics.
And then, more recently, there are more and more things where you find out that somebody in the comics industry is a total sleazeball.
We do not restock Green Valley anymore.
And we pull El Phantasmo off the shelf.
Uh-huh.
And DC, again, chose to stop publishing
Border Town.
Border Town,
And also offered returnability on all previous issues.
which they did not have to do.
No, they could have just been like, well, mea culpa. But instead they went, look, if you've got copies left, you should not have to just destroy them and eat the loss. This
Right.
is our fault.
And now, like Dal said, we're not going to stock Green Valley, we're not going to stock American Alien anymore.
Yeah.
And those are books that we both enjoyed, but
I did, it's true.
at the expense of a vile human being profiting off it.
Yeah, I would. So we were. People didn't like Max Landis way before people loathed Max Landis. And we would still promote American Alien because it was a legitimately good Superman story. It turns out made by one of the worst human beings, but
Yeah,
it was
God,
still.
how loud did I trumpet Green Valley?
Yeah, I thought Green Valley was really solid and had
Yeah.
some fun moves on it, and Camo did some great artwork.
And I used to say, look, I don't like filmmaker Max Landis, but comic writer Max Landis,
Right.
he does good stuff.
But then it's like, no, and everyone draws the line at some different place, and I feel like we're getting slightly off topic. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And if you don't know why we're talking about this, you can look it
You
up.
can look it up.
I just take our word for it and don't.
trigger warning.
But the point is, when confronted with moral issues, you have to make a choice and do what feels right to you and what makes you sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
The question of selling Supergirl 33 and Superman 13 online for higher prices isn't even a thing that entered our minds.
No.
DC said, please destroy it. We did.
Yeah, super easy decision to make. I did not hesitate for a second to go, oh, that's a fair ask.
I 100% admit that at the counter yesterday, I had some undestroyed copies behind the counter, hoping
You wanted to so bad.
somebody would ask for it, and I would say, no, I'm sorry that DC had us destroy that. And if it was somebody, A, I didn't know, somebody, B, you could easily tell would just wanted to get it for the value, the perceived value,
Yeah.
not somebody who was actively following the story and needed to know what happened next. What's the final fate of Rugel Zar, Dal?
Is it the final fate? Is that what we'll find out?
Yeah.
Oh, man. He's probably going to be
So
okay.
the point is, if somebody was like that, I was going to pick up a book and say, yeah, here it is, tear it in half, hand them both halves and say, here, free of charge.
There you go. You can read the story now.
And yes, that is a very petty, a very dickish thing that I was prepared to do, and surprisingly, in a good way, it never came up.
Yeah.
Nobody asked. We didn't have to answer the phone. No, we're not selling you Superman 13.
Sure. Similarly, I was working out in my brain how it would go if somebody came in asking for it, because I knew there's a few people who shop with us regularly who are very hot book collectors, and I thought for sure they would come in and ask. And it was going to be just, I didn't have it word for word, but the general conversation was going to be, we don't have those. DC asked us to destroy them. And then if they kind of pressed on it, but do you have any left over? I would have to then go, so you're asking about this book because you know that DC Comics asked us to destroy them, but you came in anyway hoping you could get some illicit copies that a publisher asked us to get rid of so you could have them and sell them for more money. Like, is that am I getting that right? Am I getting
You are.
Am I getting this
I'm
exchange right?
I'm really invested in the story.
Comes out in
Or,
2 weeks.
a friend of mine needed a copy. Yeah.
No, because this is unlike a lot of books. There's no cover for this for people to go, oh, I need to know the story so bad. No one, up to and including Brian Michael Bendis, is that invested in Superman and Supergirl right now, where they could not wait 2 weeks to find out what happens next in the story.
I find this a little bit interesting because we have a semi-regular who buys things deliberately to sell online, who just says, oh, I'm buying this. Like, he's not buying stuff day it comes out. He's buying it like a week or so after.
Right.
But the first time he told you, yeah, I'm buying these to flip, you now are very angry whenever that person comes in.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand...
Who was totally upfront about it.
on the one hand, that's the cool
and
thing.
not being like, hey, do you have any Captain Marvel 8 first prints or anything like that?
It's not some secret thing where he's, like, pretending he's got a 8th friend who needs the 8 copies that he's getting of this new series that's super hot online or whatever. And yeah, I mean, he's not a guy who's, following the hot books thing, but he will absolutely, like, look over our racks and go, oh, here's an Image #1 they still have a few copies of. I'll get 2 of that. Or, oh, here's an issue of a superhero comic that people are after that no one at Challenger seems to care about. I'll grab a couple of those. And yeah, I mean, it's cool that he's upfront about it, but it's also still infuriating because it's like, couldn't you at least have the courtesy to lie to me about it?
But you hate when they lie. You know that they're lying.
Or, more appropriately, be ashamed of it.
And there it is. There's the rub.
That's the thing. Like, understand, again, like the people, like the retailers who are just looking for ethical cover, they want someone to tell them that they're doing it too. Know that what you're doing is wrong. You know, don't pretend what you're doing is right. Don't think what you're doing is right. Understand at a deep, core, emotional level that you have made wrong choices. That's all I'm asking. I think that's fair.
I think that at that point, when do you stop realizing the wrong choices you made?
It never has to stop.
But you know what's the right choice?
What's that, Patrick?
Having Sarah Beacon in for a store signing
Beaks!
for Let's Make Ramen.
Beaks! Back to
An illustrated
Challengers!
cookbook. Sarah Beacon is
Beaks!
coming in. Stop it. How many more times are you going to say that?
I mean, probably one more.
Okay. Saturday, August 31st, from 2 to 4-ish, Sarah B. will be...
That wasn't going to be where it was.
Okay.
The fear.
Okay, do you know what? Shove it up your ass.
This is just an outright Sarah Beacon signing. We always have prints of hers available. We always have a lot of other Sarah Beacon related merchandise in the store.
I hope she brings a lot of cool stuff because we've sold out of basically everything she's given us.
Well, if we give her a list ahead of time.
Well, I mean, for her as well, like so
Sure.
she can kind of show off what she's got.
Yeah.
And while this is not a cooking event, I have been assured in an email that there will be Pocky.
I thought it said maybe that'll be Pocky.
I was assured that on penalty of death there would be Pocky.
I see.
It was a strange phrasing, but I appreciate her being upfront about it.
And while there may or may not be ramen, I feel like it's probably just going to be the college ramen you buy in the brick. So it's like, here you're buying a cookbook. Here you get a 99-cent block of ramen.
Yikes!
Eat it on your own. We're not cooking it at the store.
Yeah, you'll buy the book and then you'll cook it some other time.
We have events in the future to announce with Elliot Rahal for Midnight Vista from Aftershock and Mike Marici for the plot from Vault. Well, I didn't write those down because we don't have specific...
That's true.
Like, Elliot hasn't
can't
confirmed.
go on the board till we got a date.
And Mike hasn't... We don't have a date for that. But, and we've got a bunch of Saturdays in a row with stuff happening. So Sarah Beacon is on the 31st, Saturday the 31st of August. The very next Saturday, September 7th, is Mike Norton's Battle Pug Bring Your Dog to Challengers signing day that we talked about briefly before. And that will also, in theory, be Elliot Rahal signing that day as well. And then we take a brief break and have Batman Day on Saturday, September 21st. And then Champions Day with Marty and Sarah, whom I am told love wrestling, on Saturday, September 28th. So all sorts of wonderful events, but we just wanted to mention the Sarah Beacon thing because it's the next event we have.
It's coming up real fast.
And we just got it ironed out this week.
A little over 2 weeks from when I'm saying this.
And we're finally going to break the silence on an event that never happened, that never panned out, that we thought we had a chance with. Seeing as how...
Not a great chance, but an okay chance.
No. Once in Future #1 came out this week from Boom Studios, and we had put in a bid to have Kieran Gillen at the store.
We threw it to Boom as a, like, hey, what would it take? Is this a possibility sort of thing? And it was they are looking into it. They don't know what he's going to do.
But other stores have also asked.
Right. And I don't know if it turned out to be anywhere in the U.S., but it certainly was not a Challengers.
Yeah, so we were hoping that maybe they'd put together a tour
or
or
something.
something would come, but, just because we say, hey, we want Kieran Gillen, doesn't mean we get Kieran Gillen.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
It doesn't work that way.
I wasn't like I was, I felt, personally offended by it. It's fine. There's a lot of reasons why it can't happen.
Yeah, at that same time, there were two higher profile signings that we had pitched for, and the second one, the book hasn't even been announced, so it's funny how this one is already out and on shelves. The next one doesn't even exist.
It's not done yet.
So who knows? Maybe in a year from now we'll do another one of these. Hey, here's the thing we didn't get. But what we did get was we got you listening to this episode. So for that, we thank you.
Beaks!
But wait, there's more. It turns out that we had a pretty great mention on the most recent Cartoonist Kayfabe podcast, the one that was published on August 11th, where they talk about Hero Illustrated #1 from back in July 1993. So here is a brief clip with Ed Piskor and Jim Rugg from Cartoonist Kayfabe.
Welcome to Cartoonist Kayfabe. My name is Jim Rugg.
I'm Ed Piskor.
And today we're finally digging into Hero Illustrated #1. How do we get new customers coming back? This is in regards to the death of Superman brought in a bunch of new customers, and how did this particular store, Pat Brower, I think he was manager at Graham Cracker Comics at the time, so he just talks about trying to appeal to, if you get a new person in the store. Graham Cracker Comics is a long-running franchise around the Chicago area. They have a dozen stores. They're expanded to Wisconsin and California now. Pat Brower, though, was not an owner of Graham Cracker Comics, and he eventually left after 17 years at Graham Cracker, started his own comic book store in partnership with W. Dow Bush, and it's Challengers Comics in Chicago. I had a signing there 2 years ago. Great store, good online presence. So interesting when you see these guys' names pop up, and it's like, that's a lifer dude. This is from 1993, and he's still going strong in the comics business and representing and applying some of this idea of how do you get new customers, how do you keep new readers, things like that. Pretty interesting practices in his stores. His back issues are 99 cents. They have a big area of all ages stuff, so a lot of the idea of let's continue on with comics, practicing these ideas and thinking about it, 25 years ago and still in practice today.
Praise be to smart and thoughtful retailers.
Yeah, thanks guys.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.